everybody, welcome back to the Watch Pals. My name is Chris. This week we watched the animated masterpiece, The Spine of Night. Before we get into that, I want to introduce my friends, the Watch Pals themselves. First, the Honorable Jeff is here to preside over this court.
Yep, this is my choice, and I have subjected you to it.
The Brian Esquire is here to preside and defend us in this case.
Thank you, Squire. I like blood, I like guts, and I like cartoons.
Well, he likes cartoons. And Jordan, the defendant in the case, is here to defend his position on, what was it, Wapner's Court? I don't know. Judge Wapner, was that guy?
People's Court.
The Whopper Court.
People's Court, that's what it was.
Court,
The Whopper Court.
I am the Burger King.
All right, well, this week we watched The Spine of Night. Jeff, you're going to take control of the ship and drive us through this night.
Yep.
Do you have...
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about what we were expecting going into the show first?
No.
Because I had never seen this. Anybody else seen this before?
Jeff and I saw it.
Well, I don't know if we finished it. It was at one of the nights at his house. We had obviously been drinking. He's like, yeah, check this movie out. And I think I passed out or something.
Late night sippy cinema.
So then I was the only one raw dog in this one because I didn't know it was a animated film going into it. So I had no clue. And I was expecting another, standard Jeff Bryan movie from the entire first season where there was going to be naked guys.
Listen.
And
yeah, I mean, there's that.
A lot of gore and blood.
I would argue only one of my picks last season fits that bill.
Father's Day?
Yeah, and that's the only one. I picked, what else? Dragon Ball, that definitely wasn't it. I picked...
right. No nakedity in that one.
Unbreakable.
Unbreakable, you're right. Yeah, okay, never mind. So it wasn't a Brian movie. Okay, sorry.
There you go.
My fault.
Don't be pushy with me just because you can't handle the human body, dude.
Yeah, I'm uncomfortable with
You're
humanity.
so afraid. You're just like the MPAA. They're so afraid. Just stop being afraid.
So afraid of the human body.
The human form.
Everybody loves a head exploding, but they can't handle anything swinging. Just saying.
Swinging.
Jeff, do you want to lead us off in the recap of the Spine of Night?
Yeah. So a little bit of background on this film. It came out in 2021. I believe it took them 7 years to make it. It kind of went through a little bit of production. I don't want to say hell, but there are some hurdles, and they kind of initially filmed it. So this is a cartoon, like Chris said, but it's rotoscoped. So if you're not familiar with what rotoscoping is, it's an animation technique, where animators basically trace over live action footage frame by frame, like painstakingly. So if you think of the Lord of the Rings cartoon, Fire and Ice, Heavy Metal, those are all very well-known rotoscoped cartoons. So this is a callback to that. It immediately makes it just feel like it's from the 80s.
When you said that, I was like, what do you, when you said it was from 2021, I had no clue. I thought it was the 90s.
Yeah, it's because no one does rotoscoping anymore because it takes forever. It took them so long. But basically, they had a bunch of actors do this, and then they signed on the cast to do the voices. So that's why some of the dialogue I think is a little strange in this, because basically so Lucy Lawless is one of the main characters, Zod, and she was saying, it was interesting because she wanted to really be a part of this, but she was basically had to copy the cadences and the mouth movements of someone else who had already delivered the lines. So
yeah, it would be weird to do the lip flap and stuff just to get everything matched up if you're not the actual actor.
Right, exactly. So that's why, some of the criticisms of this film were it's weird and blah, 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 but they had a lot of things like that you have to consider. And I personally really like this movie, which is why I picked it. And I picked it mostly because I just want more people to see it. I don't think it was on really anyone's radar. It won some awards, I think, in film festivals and stuff like that. But yeah, so there was a prequel to this. It was called Exordium, and it was just a short. And we'll kind of get to it later, but it's basically the story of the Guardian, just really quick. You kind of get his backstory a little bit.
Was did that come out before or after this? I know he says a prequel.
Before.
Okay.
It's probably like a film festival type
It's probably
deal.
it was probably like the proof of concept to like get this off the ground or something like that.
Get investors or whatever.
Yeah. All right. So the movie starts and we see outer space. There's some really cool colors at work in this film. A lot of blues and purples and things like that. It transitions into a snowy mountain, and we have what appears to be a naked woman walking up it. She has tribal-looking gear on with skulls and various other things, and apparently came to seek something called the Bloom, we find out. This is Lucy Lawless's character, Zod, Tzod, and she is one of the main characters of the film. There's probably a couple main characters, but she's definitely one of them. It's probably, mostly her story.
The one thing I'll say about the art is that it's like really, I like the backgrounds and the world they build. I really like the world, but there's definitely a big difference between the characters' styling and the backgrounds and world.
That's part of it being rotoscoped, I think.
No, I mean, that makes sense because I didn't realize me and Jeff had already tried watching this once before. So when the movie started, it looked like it was a live action movie. It didn't look like it was a cartoon based on the space and the mountain. But then when they show her, obviously, it's a cartoon. Yeah.
Yeah, like the backgrounds and all, like the art style itself and the background look like it's almost like two different people did it, or two different art directors had control of it, because it's like the actors are the editing, or like not so much the editing, but the styling and the art around the characters is much different than the background art.
Yeah, it's just emulating that style, really. Like if you go watch Fire and Ice, it has a similar look, and feel, and this was just
classic
sort of
fantasy type.
Yeah,
thing.
this was like a love letter to that sort of movie, basically.
Because like the characters don't have a lot of shading and stuff to them. There's not like
right
compared
it's very
to the background.
solid.
Yeah. It's like an Illustrator filter, or like the auto sketch or whatever in Illustrator. What's that called?
Oh,
auto
man.
trace.
Yeah, I bet AI would make some rotoscoping stuff. Yeah.
But overall, I'm saying that I'm not. It's like I like the movie, the styling, the art. I love the world a lot, and that's like one thing that sticks out in this movie.
Yeah, it's not for everyone. It's got its own kind of unique, and like I said, it's trying to just emulate those older style movies, and it does a great job at doing that. It looks exactly like those other films. So basically, Zod, our character, is walking up the mountain. She's looking for something called the Bloom. She gets to it. The Bloom is this blue flower, basically. And we find out later that it has all this power, and there's all these, explanations around it, which I'll talk about later. So she walks up this mountain, sees the Bloom, and then there's a guardian there who's guarding it, basically. They kind of have a little bit of a talk. He's like, turn around, don't come this way, blah, blah, blah. I'm guarding it. The Bloom isn't for mankind. And then she starts to say, no, like, here's what's happening. And he notices that she has some of the Bloom on her, around her neck. And he's like, how the heck did that happen? So she goes into her story. And here's where we kind of start the tale. Basically, everything is a flashback from here, pretty much. Like, occasionally we'll hop back to them kind of talking about what happened.
Which, by the way, I don't know if that's like a shout out to like that movie Heavy Metal, but that's like the same format that they do in that movie too. Where
oh, really?
Yeah, it's
like
basically
the
like
flashback.
the person, the monster's talking to this girl and telling all the stories in the beginning, and then the flashback.
Yeah, it's been so long since I've seen that, so
So good.
Yeah.
Even the South Park rip on that was awesome too.
Wash her boobs.
But Zod is saying basically she dreamed the Bloom's dream, and it led her to that guardian, and that's kind of how she got there. I forgot to explain that. And she's basically the queen of this swamp, Basara or something, I think she calls it. But everyone around it, that's kind of like the bad guys. They call it the All Sorrow. She's essentially a queen of this swamp where the Bloom landed, and they sort of worship the Bloom there. Okay, so once she starts telling her story, we see her in the woods with the Bloom around her neck. It's like a big lay, basically. She's with a tribe of people. There's a big fire. They're all dancing around it. She takes a leaf of the Bloom off and throws it into the fire, and it turns blue. And there's all kinds of crazy stuff happening. And then this army comes in and quickly kills basically everybody there.
They want it, yeah.
Yeah, so I guess we find out when they take Zod prisoner at this point. They kill everyone she's with. They take her prisoner. And we find out that basically this kind of this king's son, I guess.
Patton Oswalt.
Whenever Patton Oswalt came on, I thought this was a comedy movie. I thought this was like going to transition to one of those dark comedies. So I was like, oh my God, this is just, he just got me. Like I thought this was a serious movie, and it's Patton Oswalt. Like automatically, his voice just says like comedy, like jokes and stuff. I'm like, oh, here we go.
That's so funny.
You associate him with Ratatouille.
He's a big nerd though, so like this is right up his alley.
Yeah, but he's just, his voice is just so, it's so synonymous with like jokey things that like when you hear him, you're like, oh God, this. And then I thought maybe this is an earlier role, not knowing it was 2021.
Now that raises a good point though, Chris, because Patton Oswalt has that actor already ahead of time. So if you didn't know that actor, would you say that his voice is very fitting for this character?
No.
Oh, you don't. So
really?
The guy is like a weasel. Like, I mean,
I guess like when you think about it that way, like, yeah, he's like this like rich boy type of
almost like a Joffrey type deal.
Yeah. I don't think. I think I can't hear it other than Patton Oswalt though.
Right.
Gotcha.
So I mean, it's just for me that's
too famous.
Yeah. I think it just now I hear him and now I only see that character. Yeah.
If I could backtrack just a little bit, so when that army comes in and starts murdering all the swamp people, this happens a lot when there's a lot of other like supposed to be fast action happening, like violent stuff. It looks really slow.
Yeah.
I don't know like why that is.
So that's in part that the actors they got to do it aren't really actors. So it's
just
very
a bunch of people.
Yeah, like so when they filmed it, the people aren't, stuntmen. They're not choreographers, so they're just doing the best they can. So it does look a little slow on some parts, and
okay.
I could definitely agree with that. Like, it would have been great.
I wasn't sure if that was part of the fact that it's a rotoscope film or just the actual like acting or not.
I'm sure it has something to do with it too. Just the nature of it.
I think also like whenever you hear like up until Patton Oswalt was on the screen or I heard his voice, I thought this could have been like, a student film or something because the way it was animated and everything, it's like, oh, like this is like people learning how to animate. Like they're because of what Jordan pointed out, like the action scenes are very, I don't know.
It's a very indie type.
They're not
project,
flowing.
Yeah. But Patton Oswalt's character is Lord Pyranton. He's kind of like the lord of this area, and he's been, they've been at war with, I think they called them the Mud People. And this is a big victory for them.
You can't say that, Jeff. You can't say the Mud People.
Really?
No. I'm assuming
in the land of Spine of Night that is forbidden.
It's derogatory, right. Jeff. No,
we'll get rid of that.
It has been written in the scrolls.
No. You don't have to cut it. No, I'm just saying, like, I'm guessing like that's considered a derogatory term in the movie. it was a joke.
He was making a joke.
Yeah, sorry.
You're making me nervous, Jordan.
Now you made him scared.
Yeah.
Cancel Jeff, everybody.
Hashtag.
Now, I was going to point out that if we haven't pointed out already, that this film is very laden in blood and gore and nudity.
Yeah.
That is true, yeah.
So, I mean, like, if you haven't looked into this film and you want to, like, watch it, just be ready for, this is one of the most violent animated films out there right now.
Yeah, like in the scene whenever they're all getting murdered around the fire in the beginning there's like naked people with skulls burned off and like they're just chopping their guts out. It's like
it's amazing. It's awesome.
It is awesome.
Awesome.
Every blade is super sharp in this universe,
like,
basically.
A guy just rips an arrow out of his face and jams it in another guy's eye, like or out of his shoulder. It's like
he does, yeah.
It's really good. I mean, it's really well done and like very like I don't know, realistic in the way that like people lived probably back then too, in like this era, like type of era.
Yeah, this is definitely dark fantasy world. Doesn't
Yeah.
exist, but could have some parallels with medieval times, obviously.
This was drawn on the van, on somebody's side of their
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah,
Yeah.
I could definitely see that. Okay, so they have her captive. Mongrel is the guy. That's Joe Manganiello. I think that's how you say his name.
Okay.
That's who he voices, the Mongrel, who's basically Lord Pyranton's kind of right-hand man, and he sort of bosses him around, and you can kind of tell that he doesn't really like Pyranton.
He's like a mercenary kind of.
Yeah. So he takes Zod to Lord Pyranton. But before we get into that, we also see a scholar coming into town right behind them. His name is Galsur. And basically he comes from a place called the Pantheon. And what the Pantheon is, it's kind of where all of the knowledge of the world of
The
man
scholars,
is. Yeah, it's scholars. So Lord Pyranton requested a scholar to come, record the history that he's making by doing all this stuff there. And
it seems like they're like making it seems like they're like this, whoever wrote this or who the people wrote this, like just read the Lord of the, Game of Thrones, and we're like, we could do that. That's easy. Like, because it's so deep. The story, the back, the lore of this is crazy. Like the whole thing where they're collecting all, like that group, the Pantheon's collecting all the books because there must have been some kind of cataclysm that happened, and then they're collecting like all the knowledge and like keeping it for themselves, and like treating it as like there's some special thing. But it's like crazy the lore that they put into this. Is really awesome.
It's cool. I would love to see more in this universe, but just knowing how long this took, it probably will never happen. But hopefully something happens. Maybe
or something.
Yeah, like anything with just the world would be cool for sure. So, okay, we're now we're in the chamber with Lord Pyranton and the Mongrel and Zod, and we also see Galsur there as well, and they're kind of talking to him. And basically at this point, they're deciding what to do with Zod, and we kind of get the impression that Pyranton is going to whip her and probably kill her. So before this happens, the Mongrel says, hey, hold on 1 second before you get into your pleasures or whatever. She was doing some really cool, crazy in the woods with the bloom, and
check this flower out.
Yeah. So he's like, all right, you know what? Show me your swamp magic and maybe I'll take it easy on you for the torture.
The Mongrel did that on purpose, knowing she would like do something?
Yeah, definitely. Because
he's starting to resent his position and stuff like that. You can see like little details like Jeff was saying.
Right, yeah. So at this point, she goes over to, what is it, like a brazier, however you say that?
Brazier? I don't know.
Yeah, a brazier. She goes over. She could have used one.
Yeah, she needed one.
She definitely needed one. That couldn't have been comfortable.
Yeah, it's cold.
Whenever that one guy walks into the castle, though.
I knew. Yeah, good. I'm glad you're bringing this up. Go ahead.
And he walks past. When I was trying to say that like before about the lore behind this, like he walks into this girl, is this like woman is like laying on a bed, like pleasuring herself, and then like as he walks past, like a guy with like a boar head or a ram's head, like looks around the corner and shuts the door, and I'm
animal's head.
Nothing ever comes up of it later. It's just like this weird thing of like how this world is.
Eyes wide shut, like Jeff said earlier, or like The Shining.
And that's when I heard the guy talking, the king talking, I'm like, this is a joke. This is like this is actually like a dark comedy.
Yeah, there's not really any funny parts in this movie.
No.
Not one single
depends
joke.
what you think is funny, I guess. But
yeah, if you think murder is funny, then you'll have a blast, you know?
Yeah, naked people getting mutilated, yeah.
Goat head.
Jesus. Okay, anyway, so she starts doing some trickery in the fire. She takes off a piece of the bloom, puts it in, starts chanting stuff. It's glowing bright blue, and we start to see things in it. And she basically takes Lord Pyranton's head and makes it look like he's king. And he's like, what does it mean? And he gets really close to it. And when he does, she throws the fire in his face, and he's like, yeah, rolling around on the ground. And he gets, he's there for a long time with his face on fire too, which is funny. And as she does that, the Mongrel goes to kill her, and the scholar blocks her because he sees, like, what the heck is this? This woman is now protected by me. We have to, take her to the Pantheon and understand what the heck this bloom is all about, and she's protected. So they don't get killed, but they do get sent to the prison, basically.
Yeah. Do you think? I mean, obviously later on, this guy, the scholar is not good, a good person, right. But like, do you think right now he generally is a good person, and he just sees like what he kind of becomes? I don't think
he's as evil as he becomes.
Okay,
I think they definitely paint him as like someone that's going to become evil because of that thing that he wants.
He kind of just seemed like he was scraping by a little bit, didn't really care,
out for himself kind of deal.
he was just, yeah, whatever. I'm here. This
Doing
place
his job,
stinks. I don't even want to be here, you know.
Yeah.
And then when he's in the prison cell, he basically took a little bit of an axe hit for Zod, the swamp witch. So when they're in the cell together, he's worried she's going to hurt him, and he's got a cut on his back. She takes a piece of the bloom and heals his cut with it, basically. And he's like, what the heck? Like, yeah, very cool. Now he's like, okay, this is a lot of power in here. So we see Pyranton on a bed with bandages on his face. He's writhing in pain. He's like, you set me up, mongrel. You did it, and there's no proof, and blah, blah, blah. He says, you'll serve me till the end of your days. And then the mongrel says, or yours. So, it's very obvious he doesn't like this guy.
He reminds me of Mongrel. Reminds me of almost like what's a guy from Venture Brothers? Warburton plays him. Brock Sampson.
A little bit.
Like if it was a comedy, he'd be like the Brock Sampson. If this was Venture Brothers, I should say. Maybe I just really like Venture Brothers for some reason.
Venture Brothers is great.
Yeah.
Just thinking about it.
I can see it. I mean, it's not funny at all, but I can definitely see it. So basically, we cut to the next day, and Lord Pyranton wakes them both up, banging his sword on their cell, and his face is all messed up. His
face looks like great now.
It's like Death Clock level
melty face.
No, it is,
yeah.
Oh my God, this reminds me of Death Clock now that you say that. The animation style.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's like, you gave me a face that will, sow fear into my subjects. So I have to thank your kindness with another kindness. And he's like, I burned your swamp. And she looks out the window and her whole swamp's on fire. And she's like, no, it's my mother, blah, blah, blah. She worships the swamp, and it's given her the bloom, and it gave the tribe everything they ever wanted, and that kind of thing. So she's very upset.
Her whole crew.
Yeah, she's very upset about this. And then the scholar in there with her is like, hey, you've got this stuff around your neck, right? Like, can't we get out of here with this? And she didn't want to for whatever reason before that, but seeing her swamp on fire made her use the bloom as she charges up the chain and explodes the wall, almost like Gambit from X-Men. I was like, okay, cool.
So Rick, there's a part where they're he's talking to her in the cell, and doesn't he say he wants to die?
No, he doesn't want to.
I thought he said I want to die or something. I may have misheard it.
Yeah, so he said he doesn't want. He's like, they're gonna kill us, and then she says, then we will die.
Okay,
and he was like, I don't want to die. No. So, yeah. So they escape the cell at this point. They're kind of just running out there. And of course, Pyranton sees Zod and the scholar. So Pyranton is on a horse with another guy on a horse, and they're coming at both of them. The scholar picks up a stick, and Zod takes the bloom, and Zod just touches this horse, and it turns into skeleton, which is cool. Pyranton goes flying off into the swamp, and the scholar hits the other guy off the horse with the stick, and he gets killed too. So Pyranton's stuck in the swamp. He's like, oh no, don't hurt me. And Zod goes over, takes the bloom off, and basically just raises the swamp water with him in it to drown him, which is pretty brutal. As she's doing that, the scholar, Gaul, whatever his name is, I forget his name. I'll just call him the scholar.
Kid.
Yeah, he's like, this is where we see him turn. He pulls out a knife and he stabs Zod and basically kills her, takes the bloom for himself, and we see her kind of slowly just sink into the swamp.
The swamp's filling up still, I think.
It's like a mane, basically. It's like a little wreath that they wear.
Yeah.
Flowers.
This is the first time, though, I noticed that as she's using it, it's like a finite resource almost, because she takes more off and it's getting smaller.
Well, that's probably why she was so reluctant to use it to get out of the prison or the dungeon, because the swamp is now burning. But it's like how many resources are left. So
right, and we find out, now we flash back to her talking with the Guardian up on the snowy hill, and we see she doesn't have much bloom left at all. Right, it's just a tiny little piece. And the Guardian's like, you just told me you died and you're here talking to me. Like, what's that about? And she's like, just let me finish my story, bro.
They show something growing in front of them, though.
What do you mean? The bloom?
Bush, yeah.
Oh yeah, so there's a piece of the bloom there. That's what he thinks he's guarding. He doesn't realize it's made its way on, outside of there.
He's just not aware of it, right?
Yeah, had he known, he would have been like, yeah. So at this point, we flash forward a little bit. She starts telling the story again, but at this point in time, like a ton of time has passed. They basically say,
do they say how much time has passed? I know later on, like much later on, he says like it's been thousands of years or hundreds of years, but like I was very confused by that.
I think that he's been there for hundreds of years.
Yeah, no, thousands of years passed basically, and
because he's been there for a really long time too, protecting the bloom.
The Guardian, yeah.
Yeah.
Gulsor basically lives super long now because he has the bloom with him. Yeah, we find out when they cut back, they say, Mongrel, the eunuch king, has died. He doesn't have an heir. So Mongrel ended up becoming a king. And now the realm was kind of like in chaos because there's no king, because he died and never had one. So basically, he became king after Pyranton died, and that's all we know. We don't know how long he lived, how long that lasted for, at least 100 years at that point. And we kind of see a town dilapidated, and there's these more scholars are coming back with these books. And outside of the town, there's all these people. They're called the Ashur, I think. So they're pulling this wagon of books into this gated town. The people outside are very upset. They're like, give us food. We want food. We don't care about the books. And the scholars asking a beggar, like, what the heck's going on? Last time I was here, it wasn't like this. And he basically tells them that the Mongol king died, left no heir, and there's unrest, and the people are hungry, and doom is upon them. He's a doomsayer. So they kind of all get in with a little bit of, one person tries to hit someone with a rock and she gets stabbed. So the other one's like kind of back off. And then they go into the Pantheon, and the scholars are asking to kind of give a recap of what was going on. So once there, I think Faye is her name. Yeah, Faye. She is a main character. She's the one who was bringing some of the books, and Uruk is the lead scholar here.
Got the chopsticks.
Yeah, guys with like weird chopstick fingers. And essentially they send them out basically to, find old tomes and books and knowledge of man, and they bring it into the Pantheon. And she says, we had a really great haul this time, and we found this one book, and I think it might be interesting to you. It might be what you've been looking for, blah, blah, blah. And he looks at it, and he's, it's in this ancient tongue. I can't even read it. So as he's looking through it, he gets this idea, and we see him walk down to this place, and there are these two like dead women there, and we see what's his name? Gulsur. I keep forgetting his name.
Gulsur. Like ulcer. It rhymes with ulcer.
So this makes me think this as an this organization or the scholars aren't all bad. It's just a matter of like these two guys who are kind of like power hungry.
Yeah. Well, Gulsur specifically, they're basically giving him like people to kill so he can learn this, so they can learn more about the bloom, but they have him locked up basically. He can't go anywhere. And he's like, I brought this to my oldest and wisest scholar. And he goes, oldest, wisest, and most imprisoned. And he's very upset. And basically it comes down to, he shows him this book he got, this might be the answer we were looking for. And as he starts looking at it, he's like, yeah, this is. So he cuts him a deal. He's like, I'm not going to free you. Uruk cuts Gulsur, Jesus.
Gallbladder.
Golly. Gallbladder, yeah. Cuts him a deal. He says, I won't release you, but, I'll let you look at this. I'll get you what you need to finish this spell if you'll share the power with me. So this is where it starts to get kind of cool and crazy. Uruk, who we thought might have been good at first, is like, okay, Gulsur hands him, he chews up some of the bloom in his hand. It's gross. He like makes a paste out of it, and he says, here, take this. Uruk goes up to the like roof of this chapel or whatever, cathedral, and he takes the bloom, he smashes it together in his hands, and he blows it out all over the town, and there's like this blue mist, and we see it's kind of like cutting back and forth to Galsur chanting and the mist spreading over the town. And basically what this does is we see everyone's eyes start turning blue. They turn the guards' eyes blue. They open the gates. They let these unruly people who are very upset inside of the Pantheon. And then once they're in, he kind of lets go of them, and they all start killing each other. Hey, the food's in there. We don't care. And, we don't care about the books. And the scholars are trying to be like, there's not even enough food in here anyways. And they're like, we don't care. Our bellies will be full tonight at the very least. So they start fighting, and there's blood all over the place because they're just killing each other. Faye's chopping people up. It's pretty gruesome, and they're beginning their ritual. And as they're doing this, as that it's kind of ended, we see all the blood like gather up into the air and just like fly through the cathedral and go down into where Galsur is, and the blood ball kind of encompasses him, and it becomes almost like a lotus, and he's born again out of it, and he looks all crazy, blue eyes, and he gets this.
He's like the hyper Galsur.
Yeah, he gets like a giant eyeball in the middle of his body, and he's like, oh, and the other guy's like, what the is going on? And he bestows him power. He bestows Uruk power this way, and he kind of passes out. Uruk, it looks all crazy now, and we cut back to Faye, and she's like, we don't have to fight, talking to the townspeople coming in.
Yeah, Faye's like always has been a character trying to like play both sides of something. She doesn't want to kill people. She wants to like feed them stuff. She doesn't want to do what the Pantheon's doing, but she's doing it because she can eat this way or like survive this way. She's like doing her duty, but also wanting to help the people.
Right, and even other people in the Pantheon were like, hey, we also subscribe to like mercy too. We could teach these people. And Uruk was like, no, we're not teaching them. So you're right in kind of saying that the Pantheon in general and the scholars aren't necessarily bad, but like the guy leading them was. So,
but you can see he was corrupted by you. At this point, you realize he's been corrupted by the Bloom and what's his name, Galsur.
Right, yeah. So so Uruk comes out, and he's like, we're not teaching these people anything. And he looks all creepy, and his eyes are blue, and
power hungry.
Yeah, the townsfolk are like, we're gonna kill you, and they start running at him, like a couple of them, and he just swipes, and this like blue bloom slice through the air, like cuts like 5 people in half right in front of him. And so at this point, the other scholars are like, necromancy, stop it. And they go after him, and he kills all of them except Faye. And Faye's like, no. This one dude's like face gets chopped in half. Like, it's so sick.
This is basically mayhem for like the last 20 minutes.
Right. So he's Uruk is going crazy with power now, and he starts to like float, and he's in like this robe, and the robe starts to just grow with him as he like floats up into the air. It's pretty cool.
He's got his chopsticks still.
Yeah, he's got these weird chopstick fingers. I don't know what's going on with that.
He uses them for the books.
He does, right. He doesn't want to mess the books up. He's kind of basically looks like Emperor Palpatine at this point. He's got like electricity happening. He floats Faye up, and they're just standing on top of this church basically at this point. And he's kind of giving her the spiel like, I'm going to be the knowledge guy now, and I'm going to be this guy. And she's standing her ground and is like, no, I'm not going to let you do that. Of course, she can't really do anything about it. So he starts zapping her, and she's getting electrocuted. And then we cut back to Galsur, and he wakes up, and he starts chanting stuff and like glowing and looking crazy. And as this happens, the sky gets really dark above Uruk and Faye. And he kind of looks up to the sky, and this giant eyeball that looks exactly like the eyeball that was in Galsur's chest, or whatever, opens up in the sky and basically catches Uruk on fire. And he's like, ah! And he jumps off the top. So he kind of got his revenge on him for being imprisoned. Now Galsur has all the power, and he cracked this code basically from this book. And that's kind of that. We find out that he basically destroyed the whole town, and we cut back to, let's see, there are some like people who survive, and they're kind of walking around, and they find a little piece of the bloom. And
yeah, that whole part I think was pointless.
I think it was just supposed to show like
the annals of time kind of thing, like time passing or
like
what happened in between.
Well, as he's taking over, you mean like as he's like just like conquering the entire countryside?
his rise back into power.
Yeah,
or whatever.
they conquer that town, and there's like the couple that survives, and they're just hanging out. And the one guy finds a little piece of the bloom, and they just say
trip a little bit.
They basically, they consecrate their hearth with it. They say, and they throw it in, and it makes them, see the cosmos, and then they get killed.
This whole entire scene is just showing that he just took over the entire world because he's so powerful now. Like
Pretty
the entire
much.
because all this stuff before it and after.
I think the scene with the couple is unnecessary. Like you could have went into more backstory with like Faye maybe, or like this group of 3 people that show up later, like the weird BDSM bird people.
Yeah.
It's a weird story beat.
Yeah, it just
You're right.
I don't know, that was odd.
Yeah, they do say like the title of the film there though. It's across the spine of night.
Right.
So but it was one of the slower somber parts, and they just sort of accept death. So we cut back. Now we're at present time with Zod and the Guardian on top of the mountain, and Zod asks the Guardian for a story from him, and this is where he explains what the bloom is. He talks about it's pretty crazy. I'm gonna just try to go over it as quickly as possible.
It's a cool
without
story.
getting in the weeds here. It's
Very
super cool.
Yeah.
So essentially, there are gods among gods among gods, and the gods were fighting, and this one got his head cut off, and it spun out and basically formed a planet. Which I'm very high level. Like, you should just watch this part. And on that god's head planet, he dreams up sons, and the sons are the gods of the planet, and then the sons kind of dream up whatever they want as they're walking around. They're basically giant people. The story goes, okay, this one son dreamt up humanity. And then this one son dreamt of rain, and it flooded mankind, and they learned of loss. And then mankind went to the sons. They're like, hey, you just killed all these people I care about. Can you bring them back? And they didn't. So they were cruel. And this is kind of where humanity gets upset, and they seek to then kill the gods here. So the first, I think, seer was his name. He was like the first king, basically. They found all the sons and killed them.
All the gods, all
the gods, the sons, the son of the god, basically the giants. They kill them all, and then as they kill the final god, the one who wouldn't bring back like the people he cared about, they're just cool. We won, awesome. They're walking away, and one guy stayed behind, and they kind of say here, we weren't sure what he was expecting to find or why he stayed behind, but when he did, the corpse dilapidated, and inside of the skull was the bloom. So the gods, the sons of the gods, were all glowing blue. I only assume that's just the power of the bloom kind of giving them this grandiose power. So this is where he finds the bloom, and basically this tells anyone who kind of uses the bloom or eats it, I think, basically sees everything about the universe, and they know everything. And at the end of at the end of the day, they discover that there's no purpose, really. There's no grand meaning, and
it's an endless cycle too, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's an endless cycle. So that's where the Guardian comes in. The Guardian is like, I don't think humanity will deal with this information well. That what they're doing is kind of pointless. So I'm going to guard it. I'm going to prevent anyone from getting the bloom. And as this happens, eventually people come to the Guardian over time. He kills a lot of them. And eventually he's killed, though. When he's killed, the next person goes, takes the bloom, sees the same thing, and all of a sudden understands why the Guardian was there and didn't want them to do it. So basically these Guardians have been replacing each other over and over again, guarding the bloom.
Key point for later on.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
In this point, you're like an hour into an hour and a half movie, though. So it's like you're like, is that it? Like it's kind of like almost like it reaches this crescendo of like, this is what's going on, but like, no, there's a lot more going on. There's an entire story going on in the background.
All right, let's see. I just skipped over a lot.
It just goes right to the flying weird DSM people.
Okay, yeah. So fast forward, and we see Gulsur, who has now de-aged a little bit. He was looking pretty old in the dungeon, but now he's looking younger, and centuries have apparently passed, and he's taken over everything, and it's very apparent. It's very like Saruman-esque, like scene with all these armies and people trying to fight him, and some guy tries to kill him with a bow and he misses. And
Was that
stuff.
Mongrel?
No, Mongrel's been dead. He was the king.
But it looks
He
like
got
him.
his due.
Hold on. Go ahead, keep going. 'Cause I'm gonna look back.
Mongrel's long gone.
No, I know that, but
He's dead.
I swear, it was almost like this callback type of thing. Keep
Like
going.
it was like his descendant or something.
So yeah, we see all this battle happening. There's a few people in that weird looking flying gear, like you guys said. They're chatting, and they're kind of like the resistance we discovered just by them talking amongst themselves. One wishes for revenge against Gulsor. One just wants the death to stop. They plot to kill him. They say they're going to commandeer one of the airships to get back past his defenses, sneak in and kill him. The airship closes in on some like trebuchet guys and it just torches them as the three fly. Yeah, they like fly onto the ship with their weird outfits. We cut to Gulsur. He's got a bunch of bloom around him. He's like sitting like a monk, and they're calling him God King Gulsur.
So he's figured out how to create bloom at this point.
Kind of, yeah. Like he's making sure the bloom doesn't go away, and he has it forever. He's as integrated with the bloom as anyone's probably ever been because he has that knowledge from that book.
I like all the imagery in this movie of how Gulsur does stuff. It's that like the one point he's like sitting on top of this giant like pyramid. And there's like 50 guys, naked guys underneath him carrying him, and then like
yeah.
Like he's very grandiose in all of his portrayals now because he is the god of the world kind of thing.
He's being godlike now.
Yeah. So basically, the three people who try to kill him fail, but they do end up causing a ripple effect, which ends up bringing Zod back to life. So
You do, and again, even though they don't say like how much time has passed, you could tell just based on how like these certain societies are looking throughout time. Because obviously, like when it first starts, it looks a little bit more medieval, but like we're at a point now in the movie, like there's airships and there's like all this different new technology, and the building he's in, he's like meditating that's much more advanced than it was previously.
Yeah.
Like, so you don't know how much time has passed, but you could tell like it's probably a pretty significant amount of time.
The point in which the airships like are getting, they get commandeered by the flying people, whatever they're called. They like get into a fight with all the drivers of the airship, and there's a point where one of the airships tilts, the ones that are on tilts, and like this big thing of lava like splashes out and just like burns the crap. Like it's so cool how it's animated and how they just like melt away basically. It's just very cool scene.
Yeah, one of those flying people makes it to Gull, and he's basically stopping like the airship in the air, and as he stops that, she tries to kill him, and he basically like picks her up and like starts
breaking all her bones,
vecnaing her.
Crushes
Yeah,
her, yeah.
like she's like, before she says, what does she say? I wondered, do gods also suffer? And the airship explodes, and all of his bloom floats away, and we see it, and it goes into this river, and we follow the bloom down this path, and it goes to where the bones of Zod are. And when it reaches her skeleton pops out of the ground, and like she gets flesh, and it even dresses her. It was like pretty cool how they animated it. I was like, whoa. So that's how Zod came back to life. The bloom ended up making its way back to her, bringing her back. Why? Probably because she's the one who listened to the bloom, right? She's sort of like the environmentalist in the movie. And
is this one of those tales? Like just one of those like what's it called? Like woke tales of
Woke
loving the
tales.
environment.
No,
You
What,
know
like
what?
Fern Gully? Is that what you're talking
Oh,
about?
I love Fern Gully,
Fern Gully,
or
yeah.
Avatar.
but it's totally
Yeah.
like telling you to love the earth and stuff like that, like behind meaning.
What books are you reading, Chris? Woke Tales?
I don't know.
Woke tales.
Yeah,
I think it's more or less like she like doesn't use it
Woke
as
tales.
cavalier as he does.
Right.
He's like
Right.
more or less manipulating to his own advance, like his own wants, and she's just using it as like a necessity, maybe.
Yeah.
He's abusing it and she's not. I don't know. Maybe that's why.
Yeah. So at this point, Zod is back, and she's, we kind of cut back to present at this point. We find out, okay, she's back. There's not much bloom left. She basically picks the last flower with that guardian, and she says for him to know peace, and he dies as she kisses his forehead. And as she's sitting there, we now see Gulser with some army people walking up, and he's like, "Oh, look who it is." I all these faces I've seen throughout the centuries, I've forgotten plenty, but I'll never forget yours, Swamp Witch, something like that.
I'm surprised the Guardian never was like, "Hey, do you want some clothes? It's cold up here," or acknowledge that she was naked. Like, you think he's ever seen? Last time he's seen like a naked person, I don't know.
Everybody's just nude in this movie. It's fine.
He's a very like decrepit and old and like all like.
You think he'd be like, "Can I get a squeeze or something?" I don't know. Like,
Jesus,
I've been here for 400 years. Can I get?
I've been up here so long.
please.
It rotted and fell off, but can I see yours?
really low. I'm just really lonely.
Yeah, please. I'm a dying man.
I'm gonna bite it soon. Just let me see something.
I got nothing down there anymore, but could you just? I rubbed that thing off long ago.
God.
Let me just touch one.
Goodness gracious. Okay. Anyways, we're at the final showdown. They're on the snowy mountain. Zod is basically like, "This is the last of the bloom, you bitch." Like, sorry. And he orders his men to kill her, and they shoot her full of arrows, and she's just like, blood everywhere. And he's like, "All right, time for me to take this bloom, and I'll go make more bloom with it."
So he still has bloom inside of him, but he doesn't have any
does.
more to. Does it run out? Is that the idea here?
Yeah, well, basically, when they exploded that airship, it destroyed a lot of it, and that stuff.
But like, will he eventually run out of it, or is he just like? Stuck
I think so. Yeah, that's what we sort of saw, right? Like her lay or whatever was slowly getting smaller and smaller, and he was making more of it with blood and sacrifice, which
to make himself as strong.
I guess so. They don't really get into the nitty gritty of that, but that's the assumption.
Keep it flowing through him,
Got it.
But it did seem like he's became one with it, because like when these things like, well, we'll get into it. Keep going, Jeff. Sorry.
Yeah, they shoot the shit out of her. She takes the last piece of bloom, starts chanting stuff, and it floats up into the air. And then all of a sudden, we see all of the Guardians who've ever been.
Guardians.
They start to awaken from the bloom that she just cast this spell, and they all fight his guys, and they kick their asses, and then they fight him. And his bloom isn't working on them because they're like inside of their skeletons. You can see pieces of the bloom like woven into it, which is cool.
Oh, really?
Like. Yeah,
I missed
you
that.
can see like in like their spine and stuff, like little blue things
It's
sticking
ingrained
out.
in them, yeah.
Okay.
So they're like the bloom, so it's not working on them. And they hold him up in the air by all of his limbs, and then they just like chop him in half, which is so brutal. And he's like,
Pull him apart.
but you can see his insides; they're all blue at this point, and his heart's beating, and it's blue. And he would easily fix himself. Like we see him get his arm cut off, and he grows it back, no problem. So at this point, the bloom's full force in him.
See, that made me think that he was able to
She says later, kid.
She grabs his heart.
Yeah.
She grabs his heart and she says later, head, and she crushes it.
The end.
Pretty much.
That'd be awesome if they ended that way. Later, kid.
Peace out, kid.
She may as well have said that. That's kind of
what she meant.
The original
That's what
script.
she meant. Yeah.
That's the abridged version.
Yeah. She smashes it. A giant bloom explosion happens. She gets turned to dust. We see her skull fly off into space, which is crazy.
Everything gets turned to dust. Everybody there.
Everything gets turned to dust. And then at the very end, we see the bloom spores falling everywhere. And that's it. They start to spread over the planet. And that's the end.
It came from her skull, though, right? Because isn't that how that whole thing started to begin with?
Right.
Yeah.
It's like the loop again, right?
Yeah.
So
You can't hide the truth.
but now we're to assume that the bloom will be everywhere, so it will be less likely that one turd's going to abuse it, right? Everyone will have access to it. Who knows what's going to happen? We were led to believe that humanity is not going to like the fact that there's no point to like life, basically, aside from living. So yeah, that's it. That's the Spine of Night. I think I got through it pretty quick.
Yeah, that was good. Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah,
Thank you for getting through the
The
Spine of Night.
Jorb.
we did it.
We're going to move into the critique and feedback area section of this ship we call the Watch Pals. Brian, you want to go first and give your critique of the Spine of Night?
Yeah, sure. No, if you I'm a big fan of like adult animation and not what you're thinking. Maybe it is what you're thinking. But no, I like a lot of like especially how Jeff brought up, like, this is rotoscoped animation, and there's a lot of like 70s and 80s stuff that you don't see much hand-drawn animation stuff. And especially, I'm a huge fan of the movie Heavy Metal, which is like an anthology of these kind of like stories that have this similar theme where it's like these, here it's this running theme of this power, but it's also like these medieval themes, and it's like, there's super amounts of violence in this. They just don't hold back. So yeah, it just like hits all the points for me. It's a really cool movie. It has some weird story beats, kind of like what Jordan said, as far as pacing, but the visuals and the characters are really good in this. I really liked it.
Thank you, Brian.
Yes.
Jordan, you want to go next? Tell us how you feel about the Spine of Night.
Yeah, I liked it overall. As I mentioned earlier, Brian just kind of brought up, I think they're like, especially that story with that couple, like I didn't need that. So I think it just didn't make sense. Other than saying the title of the movie, they could have said that somewhere else if they wanted to, or not say it at all. Because I think by doing something like that, you could afford more time to like figure out who that, like maybe a little bit more of a backstory, maybe with that, I can't remember her name, the girl who was part of
Faye,
and then like also more of a backstory to the weird bird people. Like what, I don't think that's the film necessarily suffers because of that, but I think it could have been better. Like for once, I'm actually like, this movie could have been somewhat longer. Maybe like 15, 20 minutes longer, just to go more backstory as those people, to see like, obviously you see what the what's the villain's name? Sorry.
Gulsar.
Gulsar.
Yeah, you see what he's done, but I like to see more of a backstory of like what it means to like certain particular people who are living through these times. There's thousands of years he's ruling and gets into power. Like it's obvious it's there, but like I think I would like to have seen more of like how it's affecting people, just specific people. Like I don't necessarily care about those winged people. They're part of the resistance, but I don't care if they live or die. So I kind of wish there was be more like fleshed out.
Gotcha.
Yeah, fleshed out with them.
Yeah, there's a whole like story there with who they are and like what that society is.
Yeah, even like again that girl from earlier on, like I liked her. I was like, I would like to see more about her backstory, like her conflict with what she's doing within that like that church type organization thing. Like I think would have been neat. So yeah, there you go.
Thank you, Jordan.
Move along.
I'm gonna go next, and then Jeff can go last. When I first watched this movie, when I first started it, I thought I didn't really expect much. I had no idea what I was getting into. Obviously, as I said. I raw dogged this, no idea it was animated. I heard Patton Oswalt's voice. I saw the naked people. I was like, here we go. Here's another. I actually thought it was a comedy, like a dark comedy kind of thing, like a comedy that was like really dark, but yet it was still kind of just silly. And then when you start seeing the world get built out, it was the story, the backstory. Like I want to know more about this world. I really liked the story overall. I thought it was an amazing movie, really awesome. The only hangups I have is the art style and the animation, but the backgrounds and everything were amazing. It's just like, as I mentioned earlier in the show, the way they animated it really showed that they may have, I don't know if maybe they kind of made a mistake and then there was no way for them to go back and redo it once they got those new actors' voices, like the voices in and stuff. Like I don't understand how they made that type of mistake, but I guess if you're going, I didn't really know that they were going for an older look maybe. But I'd like to even see this remade and maybe new styling or more in these stories of this world. Like just like Jeff said, or I'm sorry, Jordan, you said about the bird people. Mm-hmm. Like there's an entire civilization they had. It was like a huge city and resisting against Gulsar, who at this point is pretty much, as it seemed, over thousands of years, destroyed the entire planet and generally taken over maybe. But like, what was their backstories? Why didn't they introduce them earlier in the movie? Maybe there's a ton of stuff on the cutting room floor of just like all these backstories or something with Faye. Maybe there's other stuff with Faye because they kind of just got rid of her right away, I think.
Or they could have made this like Jeff, you said it took them 7 years to do this, right? If they were able to do this into like a trilogy and they broke up those different time frames so you could actually flesh some of those people and characters out, I think it'd be really cool.
Just make like a series or something.
Yeah, definitely. Like I would love to see. I don't know why someone, especially in this like streaming world now, where Amazon and Netflix are all looking for stuff. Like this is an amazing example of a world they built that could be fleshed out a little better. Built a little better. You know, you could have like different stuff. And now I'm saying go kill it by just doing something terrible. But I just think the story is amazing. I'd like to know if it was, Jeff, do you know if this was like a book series or a book, or was it just an idea?
I think this is just an idea, but I don't know. I do know that like it went through some funding issues, I think, and you know, at one point in time, based on the article I read about Lucy Lawless, it was like kind of all these more famous actors got on board because they liked it so much. They were like, "Oh, this is really cool, and there's some challenges, but we want to help it get made because the people behind it are very passionate about this sort of like animation, and they want to do this classic style and so on and so forth." So I think some of the criticisms you have are definitely valid.
Yeah, like I said, like that's the only thing I see holding it back is like just the animation style. Like maybe that was intentional, but it seems like if they would have had the actors do the acting and then the voice work, it would have been made it so much better.
Yeah, I think it was they weren't sure, you know,
if they could have got the bigger actors.
Well, yeah, that's definitely part of it, and you know, budget, I'm sure, and the amount of time they were spending on it, right? Like, oh, we got to redo this year's work of stuff because we got a new person, or we just record the voice over it, right? So, but yeah, overall, I mean, I guess I'll just go into my spiel here. I obviously liked it because I picked it, and that's not always going to be the case. I'm going to pick plenty of movies I haven't seen before, but I think maybe one per season. I'll pick one that I have seen and either like or hate so much that I want other people to hate it with me. But yeah, overall, I really like it. Like you guys said, I thought the world was really cool. I'm a sucker for dark fantasy stuff. You know, this had a lot of things I like in other, you know, stories, Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, that kind of thing. I just thought it was really cool. The idea of the bloom was neat. And overall, yeah, I mean, I'm kind of torn though. I get what you guys are saying about wanting to see more and wanting to hear more about these characters and stuff, but I don't know. I feel like nowadays it's almost nice to get something that's not holding your hand and maybe doesn't dive into every little detail and just kind of lets you, you know, imagine what it might be like. And
that's valid.
So, you know, I think it goes both ways. I think it was a nice length of movie. It wasn't too boring for the most part at any point, except for maybe that couple part. But I thought that was an okay lull in action. But
do you all think how do you think this movie would be if it was live action?
I think they would have to have a really awesome special effects team.
Find the right director.
If they did, it could be cool. But if you don't have the right special effects team, it would be impossible. There's just too much crazy stuff happening.
Do you think it's like one of those unfilmable things that like that guy that just did what the hell is that movie? The two movies with the big sandworms.
Dune.
Oh, Dune.
Dune was always known as like one of those you know, movies that could never be filmed because there's too much crap going on, but that guy did an amazing job, whatever his name is.
Yeah, but apparently they get crazier and crazier though.
Yeah, it's Vienna New, wherever is how you say his last
Villanueva.
name. Yeah.
I mean that was like
Sounds
the first.
delicious.
I didn't see the second one, but I saw the first one was amazing. And I actually read the first book years ago. So like that was amazing. But I think you'd have to have that kind of funding to get.
You need that budget, right?
You need a giant budget, or otherwise don't do it.
Exactly.
I'll just say this about that guy: if there's anybody that can do it, he can do it because he made the sequel to Blade Runner, which I don't think that was possible.
That movie was awesome.
Exactly.
It was awesome.
So that guy just nails it.
Never seen it. Or the first one.
Wow.
Oh my god!
What the Chris?
How much do you
It's off this podcast.
Let's see.
Okay, let's go around and get your ratings then. We will give you, Brian, back to you. If
Sure.
thumbs up or thumbs down.
Thumbs up or thumbs
Thumb down.
So this will be thumbs up. If you like animation, heavy metal, blood and gore, nudity, it checks all the marks. Watch the film.
Jordan,
Thumbs up.
thumbers up.
Yep.
Thumbers.
Also, yeah. This also was. Do you guys know if it was The Hobbit? Like that, you guys are seeing animated. I don't think it was rotoscope,
Yeah.
but that animation kind of reminded me of.
It
Was
was.
it was
Oh,
rotoscope?
was it?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
That and Lord of the Rings.
There's a really famous scene where
The guy tripping over.
Aragorn, he trips over his sword, and they were just like, screw it, and they still like just traced over him. Yeah.
I think rotoscope is a very cool thing. I understand why people don't want to do it because, like Jeff, you said, it took 7 years. Obviously, they're having some funny issues, but aside from visually, I thought it was awesome. Chris, I see what you're saying as far as like the backgrounds versus like the people, like the lack of shading, and like even like I was saying earlier, like the fight scenes didn't seem very fluid, which kind of at times I was like, oh, that's kind of annoying. But like overall, I really like the movie. I like the story. I like this world. I'd like to see more from it. I think it'd be really cool. So yeah, thumbs up.
I'm also going to give it a thumbs up. I thought it was awesome. I really loved the art style. Although I do agree that the animation is not, it doesn't sit well or like kind of, I don't know, it doesn't flow. As I said before, it doesn't flow well, but I think it still adds to the movie in that it's interesting. It's a unique art style. It's not like another anime art style. Like they could have made this an amazing anime using those animators, but I don't think it would have the same effect in some cases, or would look the same as all the other ones. Like there's plenty of those out there that look like that, or have that type of style, story. But I think it was just the story, I think, was the best part about it for me. I really loved the story, the entire world they built. I thought it was an amazing thing.
Yeah, story was rad.
Pretty original too, which is kind of hard to come by.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah. Jeff, what about you?
Well, I'm going to give it a thumbs down, everyone. I hated this movie. No, obviously I liked it. Thumbs up.
Chris?
Yeah.
Chris, is that you?
Oh.
I will say for season 2, this is the first thumbs up Chris has given, so suck it, everyone else.
Yeah, we got a
fist.
fister.
We got a pal
yeah,
fist.
we got a fister. We're gonna
We got a
look
fister.
for the
We got a 5-fister.
Fisting
a pal
fury.
fist. You got 4, you get 5, and Mr. Patton Oswalt, look in your mail for a Watch Pal's fist coming your way.
It's just a fist attachment.
Yeah,
Jesus
it's
Christ.
just a picture of my fist.
Small
I emailed
French
him like
fries
this.
coming your way in the mail,
but
pal.
it's signed by us.
Yeah,
Yeah, who the hell are these?
Yeah.
each of our faces
It's
are on
like,
the fingers.
I don't know who these people are.
It's wearing
Yeah.
rings of our faces across it.
Oh.
And it's rubber too, all right. Anyway, next movie we're gonna watch is it's Back to Me, and I'm gonna give you guys a choice here. My next 2 movies I haven't picked, but I want you to decide which ones. I'm not gonna tell you the name of them. I'm gonna just tell you what they're about, and you're gonna say which one we should pick. You may have even seen these, but
I'll probably guess what they are.
right. So the first one.
Don't say what. Don't say.
Yeah,
it
don't
if you
say what
know
it is.
All right,
Just
all
tell
right.
me which one. Number 1 is a movie about cities that walk around and eat other cities, or a movie about the Great Wall of China.
I think I know what the second one is.
I know what the second
I'm gonna
one
say
is.
the second one. I'm gonna say the
I
second
think I
one.
know what the second one is.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say the first one because what
Matt
the is that?
Damon. Oh man,
I haven't seen either of these, so I'm excited for all
I
of them.
haven't
And
seen the
they're
second
both
one.
apparently not very good.
I don't. City. Wait, what's the? Is it first
Cities that walk around and eat other
Cities eating
cities.
cities. Sim City.
Oof.
Is it like Katamari, the game?
Nah,
movie.
Let's do cities. Eating
Okay,
cities.
cities eating cities. I have no idea.
Okay.
I'm doing cities.
So then next week, we're going to be watching the movie Mortal Engines, which is apparently a book story.
Oh.
The movie's from 2018.
Is that like a
That's a Peter
YA
Jackson special.
YA like a young adult book series or something?
Yeah,
like
like a book series. I think you're right.
I think it is a book series. I have no idea what it's about, but it's about these
I've heard
cities
of it.
like that walk around and eat each other, like London and stuff.
Wait, so
Why do they
sounds-
eat each other?
Wait,
It
wait.
It's like
sounds
cities
dumb.
on wheels or
are
something.
the people eating people in other
No, the
cities?
people are just on the city, and they're big robots. Apparently,
What?
we'll have to watch.
All right.
Peter
Yeah.
Jackson.
God.
Can't wait. Anyway, next week we're gonna be watching Mortal Engines,
Oh,
and
boy.
then you probably already could guess some of the next movie. I know Brian know what it is, but we'll save that for the next time I'm up, because that's my next movie. Involves the Great Wall of China. So
We did it.
we did it. Next week we're watching Mortal Engines. Please leave us a comment on any podcast platform you're using. Please connect with us on social media. All those links can be found in our show notes. If you have any questions or suggestions for a future movie, please send us an email at watchpals.show@gmail.com. Again, all those links can be found on the website at watchpals.show or in the show notes. Also, we would like to thank Ben Miller for our original art and of the logo for Watch Pals, and also Jeff for all the graphic design work. Brian, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Chris.
Jordan, thank you again for being here.
Thank you.
And Jeff, thank you for being here and for driving the ship this week.
Hey, you're welcome. I hope everyone likes the movie I picked.
Thank you all out there in Watchland. Until next time, please set your watches for the next episode of the Watch Pals. Good night.
Adios.
Bye.
Idiot.
Watch